Hey guys, this is Jen from the Teen Department, and today I'm going to show y'all how to make DIY fabric magnets. So here are the supplies that I have for this activity. I've got this black thread, a marker, scissors, Gorilla Glue, fabric, sandpaper, a magnet, a blue button pusher. I got two plain backs, one with a shank and one without the shank. And then I also have a 7-inch button mold tracer, and I'll show you more about that, how to do that. And then I also got a ruler and a sewing needle. So what I went ahead and did was I went ahead and I already cut out me a long string. I don't know if you could see that. I know it's dark. And then I just tried to get it even as possible. And then I'm going to try to get the thread through the eye of the needle. Yeah, I know it's a little hard to see, but I'm going to do the best I can. Once this thread is through the eye of the needle, then you kind of want to put it in the center, just like that. You can see that. And then once that's in the center, then I'm going to line it up again. And it's not perfectly even. I mean, it doesn't have to be, but it should line up like close, like close to evenly. So I'm just gonna take my scissors and I'm just gonna cut the top edges here to make it where they stand symmetrically. And then once that's done, then I'm going to, if you can see how I positioned it, like that. And then I'm going to kind of form a loop around my two fingers. Just gonna loop it around. Let me try that again. I'm gonna loop it around like that. And then I'm going to push this through. And it's supposed to form a loop like that. And the purpose of this loop is to form a knot towards the very end. And to do that, I just kind of slowly guide it all the way to the ends. And there are tons of YouTube tutorials on how to tie a knot at the ends. This is just one of them, but there's a bunch of variations by people. So, you know, some variations are easier than others. You just have to find what works for you. And then once I get the knot or the loop close to the ends, then I just slowly pull on it like that, and it's going to form a knot. And I'm not going to make this tight yet, because what I'm going to do after that is I'm going to form 3 or 4 more knots on top of that to make it into a bigger knot. So see how I did that? If you can see it. So I just repeat the steps that I did the first time. You know, form a loop, and then take this loop, drag it on top of that first knot, and then just pull it like that. And then I'm going to do it 2 more times. So just one on top of the other. And it may not look perfect, but that's okay. As long as you get it into a big knot towards the end. And sometimes the thread may not want to cooperate. That's okay, you just kind of have to fight it a little bit. Especially if you're a beginner at sewing. Okay, and then I just make that really tight. And then once I've formed my knot, I'm gonna take my scissors and I'm going to cut the top edges here. And I want it to be just a little close to the knot. So that way, whenever you're sewing, it won't get caught. So I do that. So now that I've got that on hand, I'm going to show you how to do the tracing. So, got with my 7/8 inch, was it craft tracer? I'm going to use this marker. And I'm going to trace the inside of that first. Just like that. And then I'm going to trace the outside. And when you're tracing, don't expect perfection. Some of it may not look perfect, but that's okay, because you kind of have to hold the thread in place while you're pushing on this tracer to get it to stay. And it may not cooperate at times, but as long as you get it into a decent sized circle, it's all that matters. Okay, so now that I've got that traced out, I'm going to go ahead and cut out the fabric. Like that. Then I'm just going to cut the circle. As neatly as possible. Okay, and so when I've got that done, so let me show you real quick, like the purpose of that. So here's my plain back, and I'm gonna kind of demonstrate what that's gonna look like whenever I cover this plain back with the fabric. So I'm gonna do it like that. So once I've got that covered, you see all this excess fabric towards the sides, if you can see that. Yeah, you don't want there to be too much. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna have to do more cutting. And one of the easy ways to do that is I'm gonna grab a ruler, I'm gonna put it in centimeters, and I'm going to place it by like close to 1 inch, about maybe like a quarter. I'm just gonna mark it right about here. And then I'm just gonna use that to just kind of get it lined up. Because, well, you're gonna have to, cut more, because to not make it like overlap so much, where there's a bunch of extra. Because whenever you start sewing, you're gonna have to pull the thread tight. And so you want just enough fabric to where it's not hanging out too much, but where it's gonna be more even, if that makes sense. And I can show you what I mean after this. Okay, so once I've got that lined up, then I'm going to cut the line where I drew with the ruler. And again, it does not have to be perfect. You know, some of the sides may stick out a little bit more than the other, and that's okay. It's kind of to be expected, honestly. Okay. And then I'm gonna try to fit that on again. And it's not as extra or excess like it was before, so I'm gonna work with it. And with my sewing needle that I got here, I'm going to sew in a few stitches just to kind of show you how it's done. So you can do it either by going under first, like this way, or you can go in that way from the outside. It doesn't matter how you start. I'm gonna go ahead and just go in through the outside like this. So you push in and out. Oops. I like that. Oop, it slipped. Like that. And then you just kind of pull it so where the knot stays in place. And then I'm gonna go underneath, so in and out, because I'm doing the opposite of what I did the first time. And you want to pull tightly each time you sew the thread so that the thread won't stick out and make it very uneven looking. Like it's going to be really loose if not. So I do that. In and out. And if you're a beginner at hand sewing, it's going to take time. It's going to take practice, but that's okay because once you get it down several times, it gets easier. It really does. It just requires patience and practice. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do one more. In and out. Oops. Okay, and you just keep repeating the process towards the end. You just kind of go throughout the circle, and I actually already have an example right here. So I've already went ahead and completed the threads all around, and then once you get to that last part, then you're going to form a knot. And this knot is a little tricky, but one of the ways that I've learned how to do the knot is through the YouTube video that I watched, was depending on whether you started out by going in on the outside or underneath, you're going to have to do the opposite of where you started out. So in this one, for instance, this one I went like to push the needle in and out. So I'm going to have to do the opposite where I just go underneath and just kind of form the knot. So like that. And I pull on it. make it tight, and then I just repeat the process, but I just go underneath or through from the top instead. So like that. And once you form the knot, like I did here, I know it's a little hard to see, but like once you get the idea, then what you're gonna do after that is you're gonna get this plain back with the shank, and you're gonna kind of put it in the center, just to kind of see how much fabric is going to cover, and just to get an idea. And mine looks okay. It's enough fabric. So then I'm going to get this button mold, and I'm going to kind of press it down like this. And then I'm going to take my needle, and I'm just going to pull on this even tighter so that it'll kind of all cave in. Yeah, I'll show you. So you stick it in there, pull on the thread even tighter so that it's in. And then once that's in, that's when you can go ahead, let me get this in more. Once you've got that in place, then you can go ahead, oops, and cut. Just cut it off, like that. So now we're done with the sewing. We're done with the needle. And then once I've got this in the mold like I have here, then you just pour in a thin layer of Gorilla Glue. So you just kind of pour it in like that to make it thin. And then you place this plain back inside so that it will stick. And then that is when you use this blue button pusher, and you want it where it's facing down like this. Kind of push it down. Okay, see that? See how it's all pushed down like that? And then the next part is you're going to add another layer of Gorilla Glue so that you can add this plain back without the shank. Just put it in there like that. And then once that step is completed, then you're going to take some sandpaper and you're just going to rub the center of it like that. This is to help make sure that the Gorilla Glue and the magnet stay. Otherwise it will get unstuck and it's going to fall out, and that's not what you want. So once you do that, just add another thin layer of Gorilla Glue, and then you place your magnet. And here is my finished result from another piece that I did, if you can see here. Yeah, and that's what it looks like. It's just like that. And that's all there is to it. All right. Thank you guys for tuning in, and I'll see you all next time. Bye.